gonna scam me? Like, what's going on? Like, I know that I want the top quality that that vendor can provide to me. They're there and they are contacting you. You don't even have to contact them anymore. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, thanks for coming back. So today I'm gonna get straight into it. We're gonna be talking about how to find a good vendor in 2023, and is it still even worth it to look for vendors in 2023? So I'm gonna hop right into it. First things first, where are we finding these vendors? I know a lot of people have asked me specifically. I do have my own hair brand, Beauty by Dom, if you want to check it out. I do sell raw hair only, and I've just transitioned into selling raw hair only. So a lot of people do ask me, where do you get your raw hair? How do you find vendors? How do I know if a vendor is a scam? How do I know, like, are they gonna scam me? Like, what's going on? Like, how do I know? And where am I finding these people? So first things first, finding them is actually an easy thing to do. It's probably one of the easiest things to do as far as starting your business, because right now they're literally everywhere. If you have a business page on Instagram or TikTok or Pinterest or anything, they're there and they are contacting you. You don't even have to contact them anymore. So I know before a lot of people would say go to Alibaba, go to even AliExpress and try to find the Alibaba vendor. But honestly, now you can look for them on Instagram, you can look for them on Facebook, even TikTok now they're on. So there's a lot of different places where you can find them. So when you're looking for vendors on Instagram, of course you're looking for origin and you're looking for the type of hair, so say raw hair, or if you're looking for virgin hair, whatever it is, finding them, you can go one of like two ways. You can either let them find you. So I know for me, with my business, vendors contact me every day. Throughout the whole day, I will be getting messages from vendors, so I'm able to find them that way. I can just look through either my likes or my comments, or you can go ahead and search it up in the regular search bar, or look up hashtag raw hair vendor or Vietnamese vendor or Chinese vendor, wherever you want to look, and you should be able to find some pages. And usually they do have their WhatsApp contact there, so you're able to contact them, and majority of the communications are going to be through WhatsApp. If it's not through WhatsApp, it may be through Facebook or something like that, but I like to keep it on WhatsApp just so I have everything in one place. And you're also able to call them and FaceTime them. For the most part, most vendors will allow you to do that, especially if their hair is actually good. They will want you to see their factory. They will want you to see like the hair before you purchase it, and they will try to get to know you. So that's a great option there. Also, you can look on other people's pages who already have hair pages and look in their comments. So this to me is like a hit or miss, because you can find some really good vendors there because they will plug themselves and they will reach out to these other hair companies, and you can go through and look and see which ones are good. It's just about knowing like what to look for when you're on there. So I'm gonna go into more detail about this, but you can definitely find them easily on there, and chances are they're already reaching out to you. So do go ahead and test them and see what you can find out there. You can also go ahead and look on Alibaba. This is a little bit of an outdated method to me. I don't think it's as fast. I don't think you can find people as easily, but you can look there if you do want like specific things. If you know you want temple hair, say from India, you can look there and it'll give you can use the filters and it'll say like temple hair, and you can put in the origin that you want and whatever else you want, and you can contact them directly on there. And also Alibaba gives you that protection, as well as like say a PayPal, because you have the end-to-end encryption, and you also have Alibaba like on your side with purchaser protection, so you don't have to worry about like being scammed or anything like that. You can always get your money back. But I just tend to like to use Instagram nowadays because it's just faster, it's easier for me, and I'm able to see the vendor pictures in real time, because usually they will post stories and they'll post like updated pictures and reels and whatever it is. So I do like to look for them there instead. But to each his own, it's up to you what you want to do, but those are two avenues that you can take for finding some vendors. Now, when you're looking for people on Instagram specifically, there are going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of vendors. So you do need to go ahead and test these vendors. So before I even start testing, what I like to look at is their page. So I'm specifically looking for raw hair. And when I look at a vendor page and they have raw hair, or they're selling raw hair, or they claim to be selling raw hair, I'm looking for a few different things. Number one, I'm looking to see the curl patterns and if there are any wavy patterns in the hair and how they look. If it's gonna be very uniform and very like, it almost looks too perfect, that's likely not raw hair and it has been processed in certain types of ways to make it look like that. Or the seller has decided to curl it beforehand, so when they are doing these videos with the bundles, you know, when they hold them up and they have the bundles, they look really nice. But I'm really not looking for that. For me personally, I like to look for waves that do not look uniform, that look very natural, that look like they've just been cut off somebody's head. That's what I'm looking for. And another thing for me, raw hair specifically, it's a bit harder to find good lace with them, especially when you're looking at, say, Vietnamese or Indian hair vendors. They tend to still use a dark brown lace or a thicker transparent lace when most people want to use HD lace. And for me personally, I only use HD lace unless it is for a specific collection. And even that collection, it has to be transparent and the lace is very thin. So this is another thing I look for with the vendor. If I see pictures of their lace and I see that they do have HD lace, I'm on board. I'm looking at this vendor and I'm gonna reach out to them. The third thing I really look for is the origin. So I have been testing hair long enough to know which origins I tend to like and what works the best for me, and also when it comes to shipping. Now, I'm in Canada, so shipping is already very iffy for me, but if I know that a certain origin, say Vietnamese hair or Indonesian hair, takes forever to ship to me, I will take that into account when I'm making my policies and stuff like that, because if I know that the hair is going to take, say, a week and a half to get to me, I'm gonna have to write that down so when I'm having processing times, it's going into that, right? So when you're finding these vendors, these are things that you do need to think about just for further down the road when you do start a business, and when you are having turnaround times, you're gonna need to know how long it's gonna take for this product to get to you. So for me, I don't seem to have too many problems with Vietnamese hair. It is a little bit longer than Chinese shipping, but honestly, I'm very okay with that. I have it set out in my processing time that it's 10 to 21 business days, and that's the amount of time that I have to get it here and turn it around and get it shipped out, and that seems to work fine for me. But if you're someone who wants to have a way faster turnaround time, this is definitely something to keep in mind. These next two things kind of go hand in hand, and they are the payment method and the shipping method. So I personally like to have my stuff shipped with FedEx. It just works best for me as far as duties, and I know the post people who ship with FedEx, so when they come to my door, I'm able to have a little bit of leeway there. I don't like to ship with DHL for me because they do happen to have really high duties sometimes, and every time you're paying and paying and paying, and then this will dig into your profits, of course. So I don't really like to ship with them, and I always like to pay with PayPal if it's possible. If it's not possible, the second option for me is going to be Remitly. But that's the only two options I like to pay with. PayPal specifically because they have buyer protection on there. And this is another thing that vendors try to get, like, they try to go behind the corners and like get you to forego your protections by making you send the money as a friend and family. What this means is that you basically have no protection. So if they decide that they don't want to ship you the hair, or if they decide that the hair they ship you is garbage, you can't do anything about it, because it's basically like an e-transfer or like a Zelle or whatever if you're in the States. It's like a Cash App, so they can't really track it, and you can't fight it basically. So in order to stay protected, make sure you're not doing that, and make sure when they have PayPal, if they have a PayPal fee, and now most people will have this PayPal fee, and it's kind of unavoidable, but if you can negotiate that fee down, that would be wonderful, because sometimes they do just charge you that so they can get a little bit extra money out of you. I know on my side, when people do purchase through PayPal, of course, there's a little bit of a fee that PayPal charges me, but I do not charge my clients a lot more extra to pay with PayPal because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, those are the costs of doing business, but vendors tend to want to take that money and like make sure they recoup it. So just be aware that if the PayPal cost is like super high, like if it's anything over like $50 and you're just getting like a sample, tell them to cut it off. Tell them to take that off and tell them that it's not legal, or, you know, just negotiate with them and try to speak in a way that you're saying, well, I'm going to be purchasing long term. I'm going to be buying this much in hair, and like it'll be worth it for you if you can just reduce this fee. And you can always negotiate with any vendor, no matter what it is. You can always negotiate. You just have to have some type of bargaining chip. So you can't just say, oh, lower the price for me because I don't want it to be that high. You have to kind of give them something as well. So if you're saying, okay, if you guys lower the price, say 5% or 10% every order, then I'll be ordering with you for the foreseeable future, and this is how much I would usually be ordering. Make it worth their while as well, and try to build a rapport with them so that when you want discounts and when you do want to negotiate prices or negotiate shipping or get things done for you, you have better leeway. So now, once you've found a few vendors, and I do recommend getting at least 3 to 4 vendors under your belt that you can go ahead and test, you're going to start asking for samples. Now, me personally, I like to test out a whole wig. And for my company, I want to make sure that my vendor is able to create wigs as I would. And I also want to make sure that the hair that they're giving me is going to hold up for different things. So for me, I like to color hair. I have a lot of wigs in my collection that are needing to be bleached, and they need to be bleached to a high level. So this is very important to me for my business personally. If it's not important to yours, then you don't really have to look for this. But for me, I do like to do a bleach test on every single piece of hair that I test. So when I do get it, I tend to get either a wig in a bundle or just a wig. So I'll get them to make me a wig, and I will have it in my own size, and I will wear it for at least a week, and so I can test it. And what I'll do to it is, if I'm doing just the wig, I'll take a little piece in the back, cut it off, and soak it in bleach for about 40 minutes. And I'll put it in 40 volume, the highest lift bleach I have. I usually use Blonde Me because that's what I'm planning on using in the long run. That's what I use in all my wigs. So I let it sit there for about 40 minutes, and then I'll check on it and see how much it's lifted. For me, for raw hair, I expect that hair to be lifted to a nice yellowy blonde in the 40 minutes. And if it's not, then I may not be able to use this hair. That's just a preference for me because I do a lot of coloring, and because I need to make sure the hair can hold up with coloring. I always have to do this bleach test. And it's also important because when you go to bleach the knots, you're going to want to make sure that they're actually going to lift and bleach to a blonde instead of looking like orangey, yellowy type of bleach. I don't really like that. I kind of like for mine to be a very, very light blonde, and when I tone it, they almost turn into almost a light brownish type of color. That's the tone. That's what I like. That's how they keep the most strength to me. So that's what I like to do, and that's my first test for the hair. So if it holds up to that, then we can move on to the next set of tests. So for the next set of tests, I like to wear the hair in different scenarios. So I'll wear it to the gym, I'll put it in water, I'll get it wet, like say in the shower, and see how it holds up. And I also won't brush it for the day. So it sounds kind of crazy, I know, but I won't brush it at all. I won't touch it, I won't brush it, because I do want to see how it performs if I were to just leave it alone. Because if you own any type of hair business, or you've ever done hair for other people, you know that chances are your clients won't be taking care of the hair the way you would take care of it. So you have to test it the way that they would wear it. So if I know my clients are not going to be brushing throughout the day because maybe they work, or maybe they go to school, and maybe it's not something they would think to do, I'm not going to do that. If I know that my clients are going to be going to the gym in the wig, I'm going to do that. If I know that my clients are going to be going outside when it's hot or when it's humid, or going to places where it's hot and it's humid, I will test it in those scenarios just to make sure it'll be able to hold up. Now, of course, if you know hair, you know that there's a few things you have to do to make sure it does hold up. But when I'm doing these testing process, I like to act like I am a hair newbie, and I will do things to the hair that I normally wouldn't do just to see how well it can hold up. And this is like the best test for me, because I can see what the hair will react like. If I do have a client who mistreats the hair or whatever, I can see that it can still hold up, and that is my biggest like green flag. Okay, cool, I'm going to work with this vendor. Once you've tested the hair in this way and worn it for a while, you can usually see, especially when you get to test a few different types of vendors, you can see which hair is going to hold up and which hair isn't. You'll get to a point where it's just, you can probably even touch it and be like, all right, cool, this hair is going to hold up, or it's not going to hold up, or this hair will be good for coloring but not for another type of wear. Like, you'll know when you get the hair and you'll feel how it is, and you'll be able to suss it out. But in the beginning, it's best to do all the tests you can on it, and make sure you're getting the highest quality of hair. For me, for my business, it's a luxury hair business, so every time I'm finding a new vendor, I'm not asking for their virgin hair. I'm not asking for any of their single, I'm not asking for any of that stuff, because I know that I want the top quality that that vendor can provide to me. So what I'll do is I'll ask them for the top quality of hair. I'll ask them if it's cuticle aligned. So what this means is where the cuticles are, because I know that I want the top quality that that vendor can provide to me. So what I'll do is I'll ask them for the top quality of hair. I'll ask them if it's cuticle aligned. So what this means is where the cuticles are on your hair, they're all going the same way. So this will prevent tangling, and this will prevent any like excessive shedding, because all the hairs are aligned the same way. And this is what you see with, say, AliExpress hair and Amazon wigs and stuff like that. You will get tangling, especially in the nape area, because the hair is not cuticle aligned. So when you're looking for a vendor for your business, especially if it's a raw hair vendor, even if it is a virgin hair vendor, I do like to get the hair cuticle aligned. And for raw hair, definitely double drawn, which this just means that the hairs are going to be more full all the way down. So when you do have, say, a single drawn or a no label type of drawn hair, that's usually the virgin hair. You'll see in the weft that you have little short pieces all throughout, and the ends are not as full as the roots. And of course, there's going to be a little bit more thinness towards the ends, because naturally people's hair thins out towards the ends, but you want to make it as little as possible, especially when you are doing extension services, because this is what clients usually like. They like to see that the hair is full to the end and they can have longevity in the hair. And especially if you're selling raw hair, it's best that the hair at the end is thick enough that it can hold up to, like, say, your coloring, or if you want to layer it, it won't look all straggly at the top, because the hairs are different lengths. It'll all be like kind of flush and nice. So now that you've covered all that, you basically have your vendors, you have all of the testing done, you have all of that, you can start to continuously order from vendors. And now this is my extra tips. When you are first starting with vendors and you have your first couple orders, they're likely going to be very, very good. Sometimes vendors will try to pull a fast one and give you some bad hair mixed in with good hair, and you have to be able to suss it out. So that's why I don't recommend doing, say, drop shipping or anything like that, because it is 2023, scammers are all around, and you want to make sure that your business is being held to the highest accord. So I like to test all the hair and handle all the hair before it gets shipped out. That's just me. You can take the chance if you want to, if you feel comfortable, but I really don't recommend it. Also, when you are testing it, if you do see any issues that you think are, say, fixable, or that you can take up with your vendor, ask them about it. Just tell them what's going on. For example, I've had hair that I thought was a little bit too dry, and I thought it was getting puffy. So I did bring this up with my vendor, and they were able to reciprocate, and like they fixed it for me. Basically, they sent me new hair, and they discontinued that, so nobody else can buy that hair because they're having an issue with it. Now, not all vendors are going to be this understanding and this like quick to act, but it's worth a try to ask them, hey, can you fix this? Or hey, I'm seeing these issues, just to let you know, type of thing. And they'll be very grateful for you doing that, because then they'll avoid problems with any other customers who are buying their hair. So always bring up issues with your vendor, and even if it's just for the sake of getting a discount on your next order, always bring it up. You never know what's going to happen. Just make them aware of the problems that you're having, and if they're huge problems, just don't use that vendor. If they're smaller problems, you can maybe work around them. Now, there's not really too many places I would say do not buy hair from, because you can honestly find really good hair anywhere. Any of the origins that you usually see, say China, Indonesia, Vietnam, India, wherever it is, it's just a matter of testing the hair and finding what works for you. Me personally, I like to use Chinese and Vietnamese hair. Sometimes I can use Indonesian hair, but I find it is a bit of a coarser texture usually, so I tend to gravitate more towards the Vietnamese or the Chinese. The Chinese is a very silky and soft texture, so I find that it's very easy to upkeep for my clients, so I like to use it a lot. And also, my Chinese vendor has raw Chinese hair, and they also make wigs very, very well. So they'll make them in a dome cap, custom sizes. They add in my custom label, they add in custom elastics. I like to have adjustable elastic bands in all of my wigs. So this takes a lot of work off of my plate, and it makes it easier for me to get these wigs out, and for me to have a higher demand level. So if you're consistently making wigs yourself and doing that, that's great. I did do that for some time, but when you start to have a lot more demand, it's going to be a lot harder for you to do that, and you may have to outsource. And this is the cheapest way to do it, finding a good vendor who's able to make these wigs the same way you can. So either you could split the time, like sometimes you do make the wigs, sometimes you get the vendors to make the wigs, but I find it's a lot easier to just find a vendor who will do it for you. And nowadays they know exactly what you want, and honestly, anything is possible with these vendors, so long as you're able to work with them and explain what you need for your business. You're going to be able to get the product that you need, and without all the hassle of you doing it yourself or taking that time to do it yourself. It's much more profitable if you do it this way. Okay, and that brings us to the end of the video. If you like the video, of course, like, comment, and share, and subscribe. You know the drill. Also, if you found that this was a lot of work and this is sounding really expensive, which it is, testing can get into the multiple thousands when you're trying different vendors. I do actually have a vendor list of vendors that I currently use. Now, these are just my raw hair vendors. These are my top 3 favorites, and it's currently on sale for $30 Canadian. So if you're in the US, I think that's like 20 bucks. But you get 3 vendors. I give you all the info on how to contact them, what exactly they supply, and what type of hair and what type of hair pieces. So some of them do have like tape-ins and clip-ins and U-part wigs. Some of them don't make wigs at all. Some of them just have bundles. And then some of them make full wigs, and that's what I use them for. I do go into detail about what I use each vendor for. So you'll have all that information, and it's yours forever. So you get to keep that. And the price will be going up the end of this month. So if you're looking for some new vendors and you're not trying to spend thousands on testings, make sure you take advantage of this. It's going to be linked in my bio as well. So if you do want to grab that list, hop on it, because come April 1st, it's going to be back up to $250. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it was very helpful, because I know finding vendors and all that is very, very confusing. But hopefully I was able to help you guys out, and you can find some great vendors and start your business in 2023.